There we are. They're on. Okay. Welcome, everybody. I can see just like a good church service, everybody's in the back and nobody wanted to sit up front here. So, yeah. So perfectly fine. Hopefully we kind of move this. Can everybody see the board okay? There's gonna be some things that we have up on the presentation. There are cards over there with a QR code in the back. If you just go to your cell phone and take a picture and hit it, it'll take you to a lot of these same resources, so you can get more in depth on any of this. So, if you don't know, Mike Trimber, the superintendent here in the school district of Random Lake, thank you for coming. This is great. I didn't know how many people were going to come, and this is a really nice turnout. So, really appreciate it. I have some friends that are going to help us with the presentation. But really just want a chance for you to share what we've been doing over the last, about a year and a half, what we say, it's almost 18 months here. We've been doing some of this and get questions, give you some answers, and go from there. So I get the first part of the presentation. If you haven't heard me talk about the Random Lake Advantage, you probably haven't been listening. I'm always trying to find ways of sharing with our community the advantages of an education in Random Lake, the RL Advantage. Look around, our staff are showing it in many, many different ways. We've categorized it with strong classrooms, strong culture, strong community connections, and it's something that our students are getting every day. It's something we're showing every day, and I think it's some of the connections that we have. So, couldn't be prouder of the work we're doing. You're hearing things about our report cards, you're hearing things about how our students are learning in school, outside of school. We did a staff culture, part of this culture survey last spring, and had over 90% of our staff thought we were doing a great or good job. So things are good that way. But we have been looking at how can we do some things with our facilities. We have good facilities. And this started a while ago. Next slide. It started even before 2019, where we found an opportunity to prepaid debt. And I don't know, is Patty here? I don't know if Patty's here or not. Our business manager, Patty, had found some innovative ways to start paying off our referendum debt from the last referendum to initially save us in any kind of, what I'm looking for, interest charges. And through that process, over the last few years, by being frugal and finding ways to prepay our debt, we actually find ourselves in a position where we knew coming up this year, a lot of debt would be paid and would give us an opportunity to actually go for a referendum at 0 to no increase to our public. I'm going to let our financial guy talk about that a little bit later. So back in 2019, we started looking for architects. It became very clear locally and actually across the whole Midwest, Bray Architects have been doing some wonderful things. Reading some of the educational stuff that's out there, talking to local superintendents. Matt comes with very high regards, and we feel very fortunate to have Bray as partners in this. From there, Matt and his team helped do facilities audit, went through all the different parts of our district. The summer of 2021, came back to our group and said, hey, this is the good, this is bad, this is the ugly. Here are some things that we can do. And really from there, we went out to our community. We had surveys. I hope everybody got a chance and got to see the survey. And what we wanted to do is get input. We had surveys on things that some people wanted. We heard some things that people didn't want. And from there, we created a plan, and what you have now is really the culmination of a lot of work from fall 2019 to today. The survey, if you did your survey, thank you. When we first put it out, Matt's like, oh, we're happy if we get 20%. We got 22% of the community to give their surveys, which was great. It means that we had a great cross-section of everyone else. And of the respondents, 61% said they would support a referendum in some way. And that's really where we started working from there. So with that, I'm going to introduce you to Matt. Matt's the architect. Couldn't be happier to have this guy help guide us through this. and talk a little bit about what are the needs of our district and what are the way we're gonna address that, so.
Set the bar pretty high.
I know.
I appreciate that. Great to see all of you. I'm Matt Wolford again with Bray Architects. I actually had the great fortune of growing up just on Highway 57, so it's really fun to be back home, even though we do travel all over the Midwest doing exactly this kind of work. So I grew up coming and playing sports here, so there's usually winning except for baseball. Just so you know, I don't think we ever held a candle to you then, but great to be back. So as Mike said, as this process began, we began with really an unfiltered look at the school building and the site itself. We were looking at the building through a variety of needs, and you can see them up on the screen now. Safety and security, infrastructure, and we'll touch on that in a second. What is infrastructure? What needs do we have there? And then academics. Really important that we're balancing all three of those things anytime we're considering a facility master plan. And this really began as that. Let's set a long-term vision for where we want to get in terms of facilities and grounds, and we'll see if the community's interested in supporting them or not. So there was no preconceived notion when this began that we were going to go to a referendum, but we did want to chart a path forward to understand what our needs were and have a strategy for where we want it to be. So safety and security is obviously critically important. It's more than what we think of in terms of intruders coming into school, although that is an aspect of every project, making sure if we aren't there that we enhance those areas. It's car and bus drop off and pick up for anybody that's experienced the joys of what happens off to my right, your left in the mornings and afternoons. You can appreciate that parents are in a hurry, kids are in a hurry. It's normal. It happens at every school. Anything we can do to create a safe environment for that drop off and pick up to happen. The main entrances are secure, but there are some enhancements we can make. There's some enhancements we can make around the perimeter of the building to alert those in leadership if a door is propped open or something like that. So there's some additional things we can do there. The fire alarm system may seem like a small thing. We have a big building here, over 200,000 square feet, and it costs a couple dollars per square foot to put in a new fire alarm system. So not a small amount of money that can just be taken from an operating budget. It's over $1 million to put in a new fire alarm system. And then the internal communication systems. They've served you really well. Many of them are original to the era of construction that they were built, but they're in need, and we can do a better job being able to communicate internally. It may not seem like a big deal day to day, but if there ever was an emergency in school, having the ability to communicate is essential to keeping the students and staff safe. So that's critically important to this aspect. Infrastructure. This really was an analysis of everything within the building. Roofs, windows, doors, site, so parking lots, concrete, asphalt, plumbing, HVAC, and electrical systems. Engineers came through and looked at each of those systems to understand where are we in the life cycle of major pieces of equipment, and are there any needs there. Every district we do this for has some level of need. It just depends upon how much, and quite frankly, the amount of need is almost directly related to when the last time their community supported a capital referendum. It's a unique thing in Wisconsin with how schools are funded. Large capital investments, almost always, are made through the use of a referendum that the community supports. Nothing we saw here sticks out as born out of neglect. It wasn't created because you didn't take care of your building. It's just born out of age. Roofs age, right? We all have the problem at our house. At some point we got to put new shingles on it. Same problem with the asphalt out front. If you have an asphalt driveway, you put oil in the cracks and you paint it quite a few times. At some point, it eventually, with the freezing and thawing that we deal with in this lovely state, breaks the asphalt up to the point where a larger replacement is needed. So it's really important to know when you see this and if you talk to others, this is not born out of the fact that the district hasn't taken care of, cleaned, and maintained their systems. It's just age-based. And then the restrooms. Anybody that has enjoyed a sporting event or a play in the theater may know that the bathrooms can have served you really well, but they're aged. They don't meet Current Americans with Disabilities Act ADA standards. They also have poor ventilation. The piping below the ground is starting to shrink up to the point where it's really time that a major overhaul on most of the bathrooms is undertaken. Roofing, as I noted before, windows, doors, there's some masonry brickwork on the middle school and elementary school that's starting to age. It's important to note the roofs. For those of you that are familiar with the last referendum that Mike said is coming close to being paid off, the budget for this project being proposed now includes the remaining 60%. So about 40%, I got that right? About 40% were done in the last referendum cycle. The remaining 60 would be done as part of this project. So getting all of our roofs basically within, 10 years of new, which is awesome. It really sets you up well for the long term. Technology infrastructure, I'll go out on a limb here with maybe one exception or two. Most of us didn't have computers in our hands, let alone in our pockets when we went to school. We need to continue to invest in infrastructure for technology. Not just the wireless devices, it's awesome portable equipment like this that allows a teacher to reshape his or her classroom every day as to how students need to learn or how they want to deliver a certain area of subject matter. So not only the backbone to support technology, but getting devices, one example right in front of us, in classrooms, in teachers' hands to impact students is part of this conversation. And then the majority of the asphalt, as I noted before, if you haven't, just take a look around as you leave. Again, it's just age. It's time where we need to really pull it up, look at the gravel underneath it, make sure we've got the proper thickness, redrain some areas, and so really kind of reset the clock from new on all of your asphalt, mainly out front, some in the back as well. And then academics. This picture is a great example of how most of us went to school. 30 desks in a row. It just would have had a chalkboard, not a whiteboard or marker board in front of it. That's how we learn, right? And it just isn't that way anymore. Learning is dynamic. It's engaging. Students are working in small groups, large groups. They're maybe being lectured to for the first 10 or 15 minutes of class, and then they're working on projects. These classrooms, wonderful at the time, just don't support that type of learning. Imagine what it's like 15 minutes in trying to group 4 desks together without any power in the room. So a lot of things can be done to improve and enhance our classroom environments for students. Some of it is basically the finishes, as we would call them, flooring, paint, etc., doors. If you get a chance to tour the high school wing tonight or get down into the elementary and middle school, again, just age, time to refresh some of those spaces. And then labs and equipment. The last referendum did a great job on science, right? A grade 8 space that's really serving you well, so it's not included in this. It's really a nice set of spaces and labs. But we're infusing creative STEM-based instruction and opportunities for students throughout the curriculum. So creating space and then furnishing that space for STEM instruction is one of the areas of academic need. I'll go quickly. Your band and choir are prospering. Awesome. The spaces are still the same size they were when they built. So we're growing those programs. More students are participating, which is great. We just now need to improve those spaces to support that growing curriculum. Your auditorium, prior investment conversion, is doing well. It lacks some of the support spaces. This is very normal when you build a theater. It's like when you build your house, you don't build enough storage. We build a theater, we don't have enough the other smaller support spaces, storage, set construction, areas for students to change into costumes before and after shows. We would address that. The fitness and weight area, quite frankly, is very small. If anybody's been in it, it's kind of at the back of the gym. It's the old storage rooms basically turned into weights and fitness. And then our locker rooms, again, served us well. I can't say that enough. A lot of these spaces have really served you well, but they're not great in terms of their condition and how they support students today. So what is the solution? All of that was need-based. Again, safety, security, infrastructure, academics. All 3 of those be positively impacted by the solution. So up on the screen is a very rough sketch. They looked finished because they've done on a computer. I wish they were drawn by hand. If the referendum is approved, there would be over a year of design and engineering. Tons of work with staff, the board, community, coaches, technology, all the areas positively affected by the projects to get this right and detail out the solution. But the big picture moves, and I'll start with kind of the major moves. The first thing that we're considering is redoing the drop-off pickup sequence out in front. So exactly where buses would go, cars, parents, students, that's all to be worked out. But the big move would be to create a new drop-off pickup location coming in from the front of school. So anybody that is walking has a safe place to access school. But it also gives you longer drop-off locations, right? We always need long drop-off areas for parents to stop, drop their students, and then give their student a safe path to walk into school. So that's one piece. In addition to rebuilding and replacing the asphalt, as I said before, we're also going to improve that drop-off and pickup sequence. Along with that, the area in yellow here would be new construction. So it actually is adding square footage to the building right out front here. That would consist of a new secure entrance, So this would be the only entrance open after the school day starts. So kids get into school, all the other exterior doors are locked down, no more entering, I should say, and you can exit during an emergency, but entering, all of that would come through a new secure entry location. So this is, I would say, kind of in the elementary, middle school area. You enter into a small lobby area currently. It's right in line with that current space. And that would come with a small office area to support staff so that they can see visitors coming, check them in, and then allow them into school. Number 2 here is a new cafeteria, multi-purpose room, and kitchen. So those currently exist back in here. If anybody remembers, the kitchen sits back in here and the cafeteria is here. It's doing a couple of things. It's getting to be the right size that we can move more students through in a timely fashion. The less time they are focusing on lunch, the more time they can be learning or receiving support from educators. And then what happens to the current kitchen and cafeteria? So the current cafeteria would become our K-12 library. So we would now have a library. Libraries are very different than they were. This is great furniture, probably bought in the 80s, right? It works well, but you're seeing right next to it what students are attracted to. They have devices in their hands. They're looking for soft seating, flexible, collaborative furniture. So we'd be looking to convert the current cafeteria into a library, which is shown in number 8. The current kitchen is number 9. That would become some additional classroom space. So remodeled for some of our special ed life skills students. And then you're probably saying, well, what's going to happen to the current library we're sitting in tonight if we're going to not need it anymore? We're proposing to turn this into the Weight and Fitness Center. So remember, for those, we've got this small space right back here on the gym. This really would work well. It's the right size. It's got the right height. It has the ability that we can easily lock it off for evening and weekend uses if we're proposing to put in a small bathroom or two so that those could use this space, community members, students, athletes, others. You could get access to this space, but not have access to the rest of the school. So from that perspective, it really worked well to repurpose for the weights and fitness. The other big pieces will start at the high school end. So we're going to kind of start down at the far high school end. This is probably some of our oldest classroom space. If you haven't had a chance to go down there and see it, again, it served us well. The HVAC system was upgraded in the last referendum. But the doors, the cabinetry, much of the flooring, the lockers, even the outside walls, if you look at them, the soffits are peeling and windows are aging. So really kind of looking at a full refresh of the high school classroom wing. This is currently some classroom and office space, so same thing, making improvements to better support flexible hands-on learning for high school students here in number 3. Anywhere you see a number 11, it would be a bathroom renovation. So we've got a set of bathrooms right outside the auditorium that would get done. We've got a set of bathrooms right outside the gym that would get done. We've got 2 sets of bathrooms that are in the elementary middle school wing that would get done. We haven't shown a few others. There's some small bathrooms up off the gym that would also get remodeled. But as I noted before, bringing them to ADA standards and then just addressing all of the plumbing needs that are starting to be an issue, if they are here already in all of those spaces. Number 12 would be improving the stage and the green room dressing room. So as I said before, making some improvements there to help our performing arts community. Number 5 is the band choir improvements. So making the band room slightly larger to accommodate our vibrant program, but also providing appropriately sized practice rooms and rehearsal spaces for students and performers in both choir and band. 6 is the locker room renovation. So as I noted in needs, it's aging. We're not proposing to move it anywhere. The location of it is really good. It's just going to be remodeling that space to better serve in the future. Number 7 is kind of an extension of, we're going to have both student services. That's today's word for guidance when we were in school. We have a lot more services, fortunately, that we offer students today than when most of us were in school. So it's guidance, it's social workers, psych, all the different things that students are needing access to. They're going to be centrally housed right in the middle of the school. So they've got great access to both, to all of our students. 8, as I noted before, is converting the current cafeteria to a K-12 library. 9s are just general classroom improvements. So this gets to, as I noted before, just the age of some of our classrooms and the technology needs throughout the elementary and middle school. That's what number 9 is generally referencing. And then number 10 is kind of an exciting opportunity to take the current elementary school library, middle school library, so that library is moving to number 8, and open that space up and infuse some of that STEM and tech ed and curriculum right into the core of the elementary middle school. So think of robotics and 3D printers and all the things that kids would make no sense to us if we tried to use them. But my 10-year-old comes home and programs a robot for me. Don't exactly have a clue how that happens. He's learning it in school, and he's getting exposed to it through opportunities that are infused into the curriculum every day. We're going to create a really dynamic environment right in the middle of the school for all kids to get access throughout the day. So it really is kind of a refresh of all of our academics, infusing some of the things that are needed to better support hands-on learning today, but not at all ignoring and shying away from the infrastructure needs. Critically important. Without a new roof and without a parking lot that works in a safe building, all these academic things aren't important. So the board really charged us with, we have to shore up our current building first, while also considering some of the academics, which we think the solution really does well. You may note that on the survey, for those of you that took it, there were some additional projects that were considered. So the referendum proposal does not include these things. So I'm going to list them just so you know what it doesn't include. It doesn't include adding air conditioning to the remainder of school. So we have sections of the school that are currently air conditioned. It was not a small dollar amount, and the community said, you know, we like the base plan, but maybe that went a little farther than we were comfortable with, which is normal. We had a proposal to construct a softball field on site here, add artificial turf to the football field, and then there was some consideration of possibly building an indoor practice facility. Anybody that's seen what Plymouth has done or some of the Fox Valley generally schools have done, that was more of a potential community school district partnership project. The reason these even came to light is, as I noted when we began this, we really wanted to set a master plan in place. It's normal when we do a school project, you drop the 2 classrooms in off on the end because that was the cheapest place to put the 2 classrooms, but you now have your brand new classrooms where you really should have put your gym or whatever else is coming in the future. So we wanted to make sure we looked further out, knowing that it was likely that we couldn't afford everything. And these are great examples of projects that just at this point didn't make the cut in terms of the overall investment, but they're still viable to do moving forward in the future because the master plan, if this referendum is approved, is intact. And the investments today would not prevent any of those things from happening in the future. So with that, turn it over to Jordan to close us out on the cost.
So the total cost, the estimated cost for the referendum is $29.9 million. So if this referendum were approved, we would work with the district to issue municipal bonds to pay for the project. We cannot issue more than $29.9 million if it is approved. So I just want to make that clear. If something comes up, the district is limited to the $29.9 million. But you've probably seen in some of the informational materials that we are estimating that we could issue these bonds for the school district to fund the project without increasing the tax levy for referendum debt. And there's a big reason why we're able to do this. Over the past few years, the administration and the school board has proactively decided to pay down the existing referendum debt that was outstanding for the school district. So this is a result of the referendum that passed in 2014. The bonds were issued in 2015, and I believe they were amortized out to or repaid out to 2027. So in the last couple of years, the district has been levying funds to prepay some of that debt burden. By doing that, the district has saved over $130,000 in interest costs. So just like you would do at home, if your revenues increase, you might use some additional funds to pay down some of your existing debt. So the district has done that, and it allows for this opportunity to issue new debt without increasing that levy. So I'm a visual person, so it makes more sense to me by looking at something like this. So I'll go through this quickly. So this is showing the last 3 years of the total levy for the school district, and then projecting out what it would look like were the referendum to pass. So these, so first I'll say this black bar, this is the operating levy for the district. So in Wisconsin, every district is limited by the amount that they can levy to operate schools. It's been decided that for districts that need to do large projects like this, and Matt touched on this earlier, the means to do that is to go get approval from your community. So to go to referendum and have them ultimately approve the ability to fund these large projects. But this black portion is limited by the state for operations. This dark blue portion is what the district has been levying to pay the existing debt. So you can see in the past 3 years that that levy has been increasing and it's been paying off debt in this area. So by levying a little bit more here, paying off debt out here, we can repay the new debt without increasing the mill rate. I just want to be very clear on that. So when we're saying that the levy is not going to increase, it's saying that the levy for this portion only will not increase. Now, when I'm saying levy, I'm talking about the mill rate. So the mill rate is the levy per $1,000 of valuation for the school district. So I just want to touch on a couple of the assumptions. So the new bonds would each be repaid over 20 years. We're estimating a multi-phase approach, so we'd probably issue it over a couple of years for a total repayment of 21 years. So just like a home, it's a large purchase. It makes sense to amortize it over a long time, think of the useful life, and obviously the building will have a much longer useful life than 21 years. We're using conservative interest rates of 4.75 to 5%. If we were to issue bonds right now, we'd probably be around 4.25%. So we're a little conservative there. And then lastly, we're a little conservative on the valuation growth. As I said, the mill rate is based on the levy per $1,000 of property value. Well, property values increase over time. So that has a direct correlation to what the mill rate is. In the recent years, and especially this current year, valuations have increased a lot around the state. So we decided to be a little more conservative for this next year and the future years. I just want to let you know that we are conservative in our planning.
So I think that's it. Thank you, Jordan. Thank you, Matt. That's a lot of stuff in a half hour. So this is the time for you to ask us, what are some things that maybe you didn't get clarity on? What are some questions? What are things you're excited about? What are some things you have some concerns? The way the rest of this is once we think we have all your questions answered, Mrs. McDonald and Mrs. Mountain are going to take you out and show you the different areas so you can get a visual of some of the pictures that you got to see. So questions? Who's going to be the brave person to ask the first one? I know that's always the toughest one.
How are you going to go out to the community and give more presentations?
Mm-hmm. So,
And the only reason I ask that is that you're long enough to know that the more of that type was done, the easier it was for people to understand both ends.
mm-hmm. So we have this board, so we're doing this in September. We have another date, is it October 17th? Yeah, I think it's yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, am I getting ahead?
I think there's only one or two other.
Okay, yeah. So here's the ballot question, back to Jordan, the 29.9 million. Yeah, when I said, yeah, I thought it was questions. Here's when we're hitting it. So we have today's board meeting. On Saturday, we're going to be sitting at the Family Fun Fair Fest with our boards, with our QR codes, trying to get people. We are working on a mailer that every resident that's in our attendance area will be getting a mailer. Probably, what do you think, Matt, next 2 weeks?
Yeah, I think it should, as soon as we approve it, it'll take about 2 to 3 weeks
Yep.
typically to hit mailbox.
That'll look similar to this, but even more. There'll be ways people can ask questions. We're really trying to, just like we did with the survey, try to get it out to as many people as possible, ask questions. I've even invited people, if there's a Legion or a VFW, I'm happy to come to those meetings, and just the more people know, the better this process is going to be. Because, like Matt said, our concept here is what it's gonna be, but we wanna hear more and more. And, just like the projects we selected not to do because of the survey, that's part of this process, is hearing more, so.
The other thing I would say is the Sounder has phenomenal leadership. So we're gonna rely on that. We're gonna be putting not only some print paid pieces in to make sure encourage attendance at these meetings, but also Mike's gonna continue writing regular pieces to keep the community up to speed on the potential project.
So did you get to Lewisburg? I mean, they got a brand new fine arts theater. I wish my mom was still alive. And they did the dressing rooms. They're beautiful.
Yeah, we were part of that project.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
that's right.
it's-
That's where I seen you.
It's been phenomenal.
Yeah,
That's been 2 phases of
Yeah.
investment that they made
Beautiful.
there.
So yeah, they did a beautiful job.
Thank you.
That's where I've seen you before.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like I said, he comes
Yeah.
with high regard, so yes.
yeah. My mom would be proud of me.
Okay, so what happens if you go to the community and all these people come and listen to everything, and because you've got a little percentage that responded, now they're all for the extra improvements that you're not gonna do, like the air conditioning,
You would not be able to borrow more money. So the cap is the $29.9 million, as George and Mike they both said, you cannot borrow more than that. We have, I'll say, contingencies and conservative estimates built in. We all know what's happening in the world right now, right? But I'd also say that there's more pressure on the $29.9 million budget for the base projects as well. So if for some reason we would approve the project in November, go through the design and engineering process and happen to bid at a time when there's a lot of interest in the project and we come in under budget, some of those other projects could step up and be used, funds available could be used to accomplish them. But the key is we cannot borrow more. We couldn't just go say borrow another $1 million, $2 million, $3 million because we now have more support. The not to exceed amount is set. We can't change that. And then the other projects would have to be achieved underneath that limit.
One more thing to add to that is, if the project comes in under cost and you have remaining funds available, anything used or those funds, anything it's used for has to fit within the scope of the question, the specific question that's on the ballot. So, hopefully the district gets to that point and they can work with, a team of attorneys to decide, can those funds be used for X projects?
I think that's a great point. We couldn't run out and build a swimming pool, for example, because the language, that long legalese on the prior couple slides, that is what's called the purpose language, so we are limited there. I would also say Lewisburg's a great example. They did an elementary school project 7 years ago and came back and passed a second referendum within less than 10 years and were able to accomplish their high school work.
Superintendent Burns said they were on budget and on time, everything.
Correct.
So, yeah.
But I think the point there is it's not always, about what we can accomplish today, but setting a path forward, showing the community that you delivered on time, on budget, have them see the great things it's offering for students, and I have a suspicion some of those other projects might come sooner than we think they do.
We went to air conditioning, you could always get Energy Star rebates for your utility, that'd be okay.
We will have part of that.
Yeah.
This process would be applying for the Focus on Energy grants that the
Right,
school
right.
will be getting some money
You
back.
could do that with windows and stuff, I mean, that'd be their idea, more with that.
That's all part of the process if it passes, absolutely.
As far as the sports complex, I toured Plymouth High School sports complex. They have batting cages, they bring a net down, there's windows all over the place. I mean, they don't play any games there, but they do batting. They have an electronic machine that throws the ball to the kids and hit it. There's a little mini track you can walk around, but it's not like people think, oh, we're like a baseball field here. We can play a game in there. They really don't play games in there.
Practice.
And Pocahontas had the same thing. The builder was Mortensen. They got the plans from Pocahontas.
Other questions, general feedback, other areas you think we should focus on as we're communicating with other groups moving forward? Yeah, let's go ahead. Yes, yard signs, I believe, are on.
Yard signs, so we're local, Badger Tag has them, and as soon as we get them, there'll be a communication out, and we have yard signs coming, so, yes, we are
I
happy
think
to
it's a
hear.
great point. Well, the other thing I would say is the school district is only providing information, so this is just a fact-based presentation. It's your decision to make if you want to vote yes or no on it, so the yard signs will just be please vote, right? Because we want people to participate.
And the one thing I wanted to actually go back to this. The piece I'm really excited about what we could do with this is the centralization. Over the last 5, 6 years, we've really been talking about how do we go from being individual schools to a district. And by moving our counseling departments together, we're gonna pull, right now, currently we have an elementary, middle, and high school office. How do we pull those offices together? That centralization with the things that we're doing really are going to set us up for the future. I think there's exciting things happening in our community. We're seeing houses going up, we're seeing subdivisions go up. These are the type of things that will prepare us for the next 10 years. Any other questions?
It's both. So counseling will be across the hall, more accessible to students. Offices will be more front-facing because of the secure entry aspect of their function. There'll still be some distinct, elementary, middle office, and high school office, but kind of the shared back of house stuff, copy machine, right, the stuff that you can easily share and don't need to double up on, not only purchasing, but maintaining and staffing, can easily be shared between them.
Well, Lewisburg redid their cafeteria, like the Jenkins did that, they got booths, so it's like, I think the kids would sleep there. I tried those booths, I went on the tour, I sat at the booths and like, wow, this is really comfortable. I would wanna go back to class.
So if there are no other questions, and we wanna.
Yeah,
have
I
another
mean,
tour, is that-
yeah, we can split up into two. Should we do tours?
You're showing me the,
Do,
I'm gonna follow these two.
okay, how about you?
okay. I think what we'll do is we'll take half of you and send you with Sandy down to the elementary, the other half with Susan, and we're gonna go and hand off in the middle. So that way,
Switch.
It's 6:30. All right, you guys ready?
You're good. Ready? We have
Yeah, we're good. Amy and Chris.
Chris is here.
Yeah, Chris is out touring,
Oh,
so,
Is Amy gonna be here or?
Amy's supposed to be.
Okay.
but, so it's 6:30. We'll go ahead and get started. Its agenda, date, time, and location were properly announced. And we'll start off with the approval of the minutes for the regular meeting of August 15th, 2022. Any questions or corrections? Is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion.
Rainey, is there a second?
1 second.
Chuck? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have payment of the bills. Is there a motion to approve the amount of $784,442.99 for the month of August? Chuck and Matt, any questions?
We had two questions. I just want to kind of put out there. I know there is was it $2,600, right, Rini? Was the number?
Oh, for the hangers?
Yeah.
20.
$2,600 for hangers. So they're football hangers. And we had last year when Coach Pfeiffer got here, we had a pretty rusty drying room. So the big wire racks and all that other stuff had just seen its age. So we got rid of it this year. We put some new poles up, and I thought, oh, you can buy those, right? And Matt, you know what I'm talking about, those nice rack ones where you can put your shoulder pads on your helmet and stuff. Those things are like $500 a piece. Crazy. So that times 40 is like we're not spending $20,000 on that. We found some really nice ones right now. We have an idea on some things we'd like to do with that space, to maybe put a locker. So this was a good way to have a hanger, something we can use in the future. And although $2,600 for a hanger sounds crazy, it was the most sensible path to make sure that we don't have stinky shoulder pads and stinky pants and all that other good stuff.
It's adequate to get all the gear dry and get everything off the ground, and so a little bit more elaborate than a normal hanger. You know, they got some different straps and clips and everything, but it doesn't prevent the smell, but it's dry. Just to say that.
And then there was $8,600 of BSN. That is our I forget BSN stands for, but that's where we get all our equipment, all our apparel, and that was for uniforms. So those are the two questions I had.
Okay, any other questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And the cash summary,
I didn't have any questions, and really looks pretty standard to what we've had in other months. So.
right? Any questions now? Anybody come up with any good stuff? Alrighty. Donations.
Yes. Well, first of all, a big thank you to Tommy at the pizzeria. A few years ago, we went from having the back to school barbecue to a back to school ice cream social. That also happened to coincide when Tommy got this really fancy ice cream equipment from Italy, I think is where it came from. So since that time, we partnered together. He gives us all the ice cream, and I think he gave us close to 800 servings or something like that, and everyone was gone. I think it's probably maybe more than that. So thank you to Tommy. It was great. The kids love it. On a hot day, ice cream goes very quickly. So thank you to him. And also we have two of our teachers, Mrs. Gano and Mrs. Schultz, that got donor choose projects funded. So we get everyone.
And comments from the public, I don't have anything written down, so. No comments. And referendum 2022, any update or discussion?
The one thing I wanted to, well, first of all, I want to thank Jordan and Matt. Matt and his team has been really instrumental in helping us get a lot of these things out to get the material out. Just questions, any feedback from the ones that got to see the presentation? Any feedback? We have another one in October. I'll be going out to other people that invite me or us in. Any thoughts on today's presentation?
That's good. I was like the idea about the
poster boards of the yard signs. I think that's great. Just people to see that and remind them about it. And on Saturday, do you have anybody with you sitting at the Fall Fest?
You wanna come?
Well,
I'll take you.
I was just telling Rainey that we actually will be we'll be there in the very early morning, but we'll be out of town by about 1 o'clock, so, but I'll stop by and visit you.
I have a tent and a table. I'll bring a couple chairs, and I'll be there. Susan's gonna be there. Sandy's gonna try to get there from 11 to 4 the whole time. So if there is a time you wanna just sit for an hour, I don't know who's gonna come. We don't know with this, but I'm glad to have any of you along with that. That'd be fantastic.
Usually that turnout is really,
That's a great turnout. So it's happening at a very good time for us. We have all this collateral that we can get out, and even just getting these out and showing the QR codes, people go to our website. It's just a really nice time to really hit this. The one piece I do want to say, and we have to be really careful, because you know me, I get excited about things, and we have to be very conscious that we aren't telling people to vote yes for this. The only thing we can do is we can encourage people to vote, and we can give them as much information as possible. Because of being a district and being paid through taxpayers, we can't be viewed as a lobbyist. So now that all this stuff is out, we have to be very conscious not to say vote yes, but do you have questions? You know, do we all have our personal biases? I'm sure, but that's one of the things I want to make sure that we think of as we're doing this. As you could see even in the presentation, that's where Matt even kind of like, yep, you know, be careful with this. So it's one of those things to think about as we move forward. Yep.
I'm glad that the people will be able to watch the presentation online if they weren't able to be here, because I think they did a really good job covering.
Yeah, you can tell they do a nice job, and there will be a flyer that'll have a lot of that same information that's on that board, but even more that will be coming out here sometime. I'm hoping towards the end of this month, so that way we will get that invite out for the October 17th date if anybody wants to come in and just keep the message going.
I know I said something to you on Friday night, but I said it to Sandy again. I think a virtual tour online, like, you know, if they go onto the QR code and can see a virtual tour of, you know, what you're proposing to change. I walked out with Lina, and she was very disappointed in that nobody showed up but the judge, and I feel the same way. You know, you need to educate yourself before you vote. I mean, we do that with regard to everything else we vote for, and maybe the virtual tour, people have become, you know, pretty comfortable in using virtual things over the last how many years. Maybe they would, you know, you get some interest in that, and they would see what they're missing when they don't come.
You know, the nice thing is for the tour today, we went through the different areas we wanted groups to see and to talk about that. So I am going to see if that's something our group can do here, because we know the spots we want to see. We have those out there. So I think that's a really good piece that I'm gonna. We meet every Thursday to talk about this, and I'm gonna bring that up at that meeting and kind of see where we go from there. So, yeah. Well, good.
All right. We'll move on to board committee reports. Curriculum met. I'm not sure who's in charge of that committee.
Curriculum, Rini is the chair.
Rini, give us all the deets. No.
We met to talk about the GED high school diploma option.
And
There's a presentation.
Mrs. McDonald will be talking about it later on 19th.
Kudos for having that in the bottom of our sheet here too, Kim. Thank you very much. Every month.
Okay, Belize. Whitney, I see your little eyes over there.
Yeah, so I'm actually the next two items, but so looking for board approval to use the transportation to get our students to O'Hare. It worked fantastic we did Italy and Costa Rica this past summer, and it worked pretty slick. having to not have to drive back after a long flight. So I was like, oh, this is an option, like, yay. Having our, Josh was awesome, for that with the bus and with the van, so 2 different ways we travel that way. So looking for approval for that. I know, Wendy and Rick probably will be coming maybe next month at the final factor and with Spain, so. Who wants to come with?
Well, we'll go ahead and get a motion on the floor to approve the trip to Belize. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Matt, is there a second? Rainey? Any, questions or discussion for Whitney?
It's amazing.
What triggers you to go to Belize, or why Belize was it?
So for me, I've just been kind of starting my way with trying to find what are opportunities to offer students that maybe aren't necessarily language based, and agriculture is everywhere. So because I knew they were going to Spain, loved Spain, been there 3 times, but also know that Europe travel is very different from going to Central or South America. So this opportunity is allowing students who are more like outdoorsy, so zip lining, cave tubing, snorkeling, seeing Mayan ruins, so just a very different style tour than what Europe would be. So also, if language is something they're fearful of, Belize's #1 language is English, so not something that they should let that be a barrier for them to go. So I have a meeting coming up in October. I already have 3 kids who signed up last semester who have been fundraising already. So
Is that in Maine?
Portugal next time you have an opportunity.
Portugal. I'll put it on the list. I'm looking at Japan for 2024. So.
Does that mean to be a chaperone for that then?
You never know.
Chaperone or adult participants, we take them both.
Adult participants.
Yeah.
When is it again?
For adults and students. Come to the meeting, scan that QR code.
It looks like you're on the mainland, then you venture out to different parts. Like,
Yeah, so, on the, I think I attached it, I don't know if you all got a copy of it, I sent it to you, but, yeah, we kind of fly in and then we venture into taking a boat, for the purpose where we do the snorkeling, part of that, so.
Any other questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Hi.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. And next, we have FFA.
Yeah, so, National FFA Convention is coming up, in October again, so, it's gonna be hosted in Indianapolis, and something really special and cool this year is we have a student who's competing nationally in one of the leadership development events. So just really excited that she gets to represent Wisconsin against all the other states coming up. And then another one of our students is getting his American degree. So he gets to only less than 1% of members ever make it to that level. So Gary Kumro is going to come down and get to walk across the stage. So it's kind of exciting.
Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Chuck, is there a second? A second. Who's that, Rainey? Okay. Any other questions or discussion?
Did you mention the student's name? Who's the Wisconsin rep? Amy Gentris. Yeah, so she actually competed, well, she will compete this week, but there's a virtual, she's in employability skills. So we've already had to submit her resume, cover letter, job description, and she had to do an online application. This week she does a Zoom meeting for her first initial interview. And then when she gets down there, she does a round of in-person. If she makes it to the semifinals, then, well, after she does the in-person, then they do either like a follow-up email, thank you card, like, so we're being evaluated on all of this. And if she makes it to the semifinals, then she does like a whole day's worth. It's like 3 different rounds of interviewing, and then so
She's going with randomly, like she's coming home from school.
yeah, so she'll come. She's at River Falls right now, so she'll come down and travel down with us with that. So yeah, really excited. And she did win, one of the proficiency areas at state and competed this summer and she got a silver rating. So otherwise she could have been doing double duty down there. So, well, I guess I'm okay with this one thing. Us running around Indianapolis for that. But, yeah, then we have a lot of kids who shown, even though the price keeps going up, they still want to keep coming. So that's why we keep fundraising to keep help offset that. So.
I don't think we go to jail.
Okay. Any other questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
And hopefully we'll see you guys in November and I can tell you all about it.
Oh, we're looking forward to it.
Hopefully they'll bring us candy.
All right, next we have a special education policy and procedure handbook. Is that you?
Yep, so the handbook is, we just adopt the Wisconsin DPI model. There's so many legalese with special ed. And I don't even know how many years ago this was. DPI creates this handbook that we can just adopt their model. So, we didn't include a link, I apologize, on the, board packet. If anybody would like it, we can share it with you. Most districts go this way for special ed, just making sure everyone's up to snuff on those things that are always changing with federal, with IDEA and all that good stuff. So
All right.
it's 100 and what pages long?
Actually, I think 97.
Okay, 97 pages
But
long.
the table of contents is like 6 pages.
Yeah.
So.
Is there a motion to approve using the DPI model for the handbook?
Got one over there.
Oh, sorry.
Am I talking quiet?
Is
Yeah.
there a second?
Second.
Chris? All right, any other questions or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And we have one staff resignation, Victoria Clapper. Is there a motion to approve with thanks for her 6 years to the district? Chris, is there a second?
Second.
Who was that?
Rini.
Rainey? Okay. Any questions or discussion?
Where's she going out to, or what's the reason?
She's going to Menominee Falls and had a connection with a principal there that, and I think, is it closer to home? Forget it for that, so. Equal distance. So, we had, this was kind of the time when there was like signing bonuses and things like that going around, so, but fortunately, you'll see the next one, we have 2 quality replacements.
Any other questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And then we have new staff, 2 4th grade teachers. How many 4th grade teachers do we have? 3? We have 3? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the 2 new, Matthew Dirksey and Christine Kramer? Oh, look at that.
Nice.
So moved.
Matt, is there a second?
Second.
Katie? Any questions or discussion?
Katie, can you make any comment regarding Concordia University graduate?
I'm sure Matt is gonna be a fabulous.
There you go.
I'm quite sure he's well prepared.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have notification of new support staff, playground and food service, Jennifer Phillips, and playground Theodore Knightsky. Theodore. Ted.
One story with Ted, and we all know Ted. And when he was retiring for his how many times from the chamber this last time, he and I went out for lunch, and I said, you know, Ted, anytime you need something, you let me know. You're fantastic to have here. And I got a call about a week before school starts, and he goes, Mike, I just need a reason to get up. I need a reason to do something. Can I work with kids? And we're like, yes, we will find a way to get you to work with kids. So
Just might want to make them stay in bed.
yeah. So now, you know, him and Julie both work for the district, so how cool that we can do that and have, we have so many support staff that are local that are coming back and doing that. So it's just a kind of fun story. Right?
Another notification, co-curricular coaches and advisors, freshman class co-advisors Sid Lucas and Amy Woolers, and high school head track coach Jason Last. He's a busy fella.
Yes.
Okay.
Comes in and we got them all filled up with all kinds of
Yeah.
fun stuff, so.
And next we need to approve the
Yes, yeah.
ESEA and the continued participation in the title programs. Is there a motion to continue in the title programs in the ESEA? Chris, is there a second? Amy? Any questions or discussion?
And just, so ESEA is Elementary Secondary Education Act. And it's really all of our federal money on how the feds give us money. So, these numbers change a little bit each year, but these are the different titles. They come with many strings on how we have to pay for them. Sandy and Patty are always talking, is this a Title II? Is this a Title IV? These funds, we always try to make sure we spend because it is for this year. We always try to make sure that we allocate these out first as we do a lot of things. So, they're pivotal to the things that we're doing and, how the feds give us money.
And that's based on like school size or? Like,
School size, the number of students, free or reduced lunch,
Property value, there's a formula for which everything qualifies for one funding. Then there's another set of criteria for level 2 funding. There's another set of criteria for the 3 funding, and then there's level 4 funding. We fluctuate, we always get first level. Almost always get second. Lately, we didn't get even third, so we're right on that border between collecting second and third level funding. And that's that border that's reduced.
Any other questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Building reports, look at you guys. You're at the end of the agenda tonight. Yeah, fantastic, I guess.
All right, under strong classrooms, we have had a very good start to the school year. Lots of kudos to both staff and students for all the work that they've done. It's been a pretty good start to the school year. Kindergarten through 8th grade have their first exact path diagnostic underway right now. That is our baseline data for the year. I will come back in January, February-ish, and again in May for the AGR report. And this is the baseline data for our kindergarten as well. This also helps us determine resource groupings and determine Title I services for students in additional schools of instruction. Content and grade level PLC collaborations are in full swing. Our instructional coaches are pushing into PLC groups, professional learning communities. So one of the coaches might be working with first grade, one of the coaches might be working with high school math, one of the coaches might be working with music. So that each one of our PLC teams does have representation with an instructional coach so that we continue to make the progress that we've done and continue to build on assessments and instructional strategies and always focusing on what the students are doing. Under strong culture, we've all had our beginning of the year kickoffs and assemblies where we're all reinforcing the right way. The elementary, we got a new attention grabber where the teachers will go ran away and the kids go all day. So we get their attention pretty much anywhere. Really cute to watch. PBIS Tier 1 training for the elementary. We are being formally trained through Wisconsin multi-tier
Multi-tiers, students, sports.
There will be 8 of us that are trained, and we will bring that back to the entire staff.
So continuing with the strong culture, it says middle school monthly thing, but it's actually elementary middle school.
we work together, we play very well together. So we have a team that our kids are focused on learning about, and then usually doing some sort of community service project. This month it's initiative, so it's about really taking charge, stepping up, taking initiative into something. We didn't necessarily have a community service project for this month, as we felt like the getting started with school was project enough. Yeah. Just getting back to the thing there. And so then high school class officers, so these last few Wednesdays, the high school on the Wednesday AR, that's usually where they do their, what we call our lesson time, whether it's either ACT or ACP or randomly focused. They've been focused on the first two Wednesdays selecting their class officers, and now they're focused on planning and preparing for homecoming. So that's been off and running as well. And so strong, and before I move off of homecoming, we do have some great activities planned for next week, so the kids are getting very excited for Spirit Week. And we're going to dedicate every AR next week for homecoming activities. So that way we're not trying to find time outside the school day. Our kids are working, they're in sports. I mean, they're stretched enough, so we're trying to find that time during the school day, so that way all of the kids can participate and be part.
Speaking of that, this is not on the floor today. This is Wisconsin week. There are 26 days in the state of Wisconsin once it's for schools, and the Wisconsin day is Wednesday. So 1:37, which is approximately the end of the third quarter of the school day, we will be doing an all school jump around. No, I won't jump around with us. 1:37 minutes.
We're all going to be. All right, community connections. So, wanted to thank the PTO for the sponsorship of the color run. It was tremendous. It was a great turnout. Wonderful day. A lot of fun with that. So hopefully you were all able to be there as well. And the homecoming activity planning underway. Our theme is disco. Spirit Week is next week. So we'll see how many white suits we have breaking out, but a lot of fun that's being had there as well. And so next week you'll see for the seniors, they've planned out when they're going to do their men's volleyball match as well as the ladies football game. So that'll be next week. I'm trying to remember if it's Tuesday, Thursday off the top of my head. But in all of the games that we're going to be looking at next year or next week and hoping the best for all of our sports. And then Friday will be the pep rally kickoff. And all the coaches have been invited so that way they can introduce their team. And then we can also honor the seniors that are in our hall sport. So that'll be on next week Friday. And then last but not least, our staff acknowledgement. So every year we select a teacher candidate for the Per Poll Award. And this year the nominee is Cindy Barker. Just with the last 2 years, the work that she's been doing on behalf of the entire district with last year bringing in NASA and having the uplink that we were able to watch and share with other districts. She as well as other teachers, they have had stargazing nights and other things like that. Next Wednesday, in November, she's going to be having another stargazing night. And so she should take an elementary to a self-esteem opportunity. So really good for work in the science and STEM area. I'm glad to be able to really find kudos to
Planned fundraising activities.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, sure.
So when you were talking about the homecoming activities happening during the school day, does that include float building that's happening during the school day?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Great.
especially for our freshmen and sophomores doing that drive, trying to get them out to a site has been very challenging. So yeah, we'll be utilizing the school garages and all the flow building working on that.
More participation.
Yeah, and that's our overall goal is to get, all of the students involved in part of the process.
Any comments on the fundraising?
Not everything's on the list though, right? There's other fundraisers that might happen. Or does it have to be captured as a
So I believe this kind of goes back, because of other because of a bunch of other things. Many years ago, the board wanted to know what are all the different fundraising activities that are going on. So these are most of the formal ones. Could there be some candy bar sales, things like that? There's some things that do pop up, but this is our best guess of all the fundraising that's gonna happen this year, just so you have an idea. And I think that's.
So you know where to spend your money.
Yeah, yeah.
Plan it.
Right. And this had a little bit to do with, with the nutrition piece. It was a way for us to see what different fundraisers are out there. So this is, something that's probably been going on close to a decade, I would think, out here. Been longer than that. Okay, so. Okay, well, there you go.
Okay. Homecoming. Back to that. Who's doing that? You? Susan?
And actually Susan hit it most of the culture piece. We did, have a piece in your packet looking at the new, parade route. We know that there was some, discussion. And, I think Susan and the advisors have really been trying to find ways, as you can see, how do we really build spirit into our homecoming? And, things like off-site after-school activities, things like that. We're starting to, wane with some of the, engagement with students. A little over 2 mile, route was sparsely attended. There weren't as many. There was groups of people in certain areas. So that's why we tweaked it last year, got some feedback, like we need to go downtown, we need to go through the buildings. So Susan and her team, I thought did a really nice job. We have our own buses, we have those things. Let's make sure we go through those areas that are most important. And I'm really excited because in about a mile, I think it's right around a mile, right, or a little.
Just 1 mile, I clocked it and started.
Nice. In 1 mile, we actually picked up a couple more businesses than we had with the old route. And we are going to line up all of our elementary, middle, and high school students down Western Avenue. So having it, we'll probably fill up most of that street. So after the students are done doing their march through downtown and all that other good stuff, they'll come into, our parking lot, going through all of our students and cheering and all that other good stuff. So really trying to make the parade an event that our kids are excited to do. We have our marching band out there. We have students of all ages, and this has been a few years in the making. And we went from my first couple of years of just being a high school event to, hey, we're all Rams. How do we get kids more excited? Because that excitement early on will feed into what we're doing in the middle school and high school. So we just wanted to make sure everybody knew here's what it is. Come out next week Friday, and cheer them on. Our band, if you were there last week Friday, our band played for the first one, and I'll be honest with you, the first engagement of the year always can be a little tricky. Our kids sounded fantastic. They did the national anthem. They did some things. Brandon is doing such a great job there. So I know they're excited to march and really give a good presentation. So
And they're sporting, new uniforms. So that's been exciting as well. The kids are excited. They want to play. They want to play for. You don't go into performance and not have people present. You just want to play. And we've already reached out to the fire department, and so Officer Cross is working with, we hope to get someone to fill the streets, and random, they have lots going on with the parade. Really trying to build the parade back to what it was. And that's our overall goal. I've been working with Haley, working with Haley, where we want to pull together a committee, business people, parents, students, to really, how can we make the parade and overall homecoming an even greater experience and getting people there. So we're going to be working on pulling that committee together this school year as well.
What time is that, Brian?
What's that?
What time?
The parade?
Yeah.
The parade will be at 2:50 kickoff.
2:15.
I'd like to just say, I like the route. I think it's great, the way you've incorporated. I just have a question as to why Western Avenue versus Grand Avenue? Just because Grand Avenue seems to have more open space, but what took
It
you,
was just the closest on the job,
okay. It's fine, I just,
yeah. I
Right.
could have gone further left. and
with the
just
park and
closer
Grand
on the
Avenue, I
right. Yeah.
thought for the kids might be a little easier to get done since it's recently redone, but my only comment about that, but I like how you're getting through downtown again. That's great.
Any other questions or comments? Good job.
Yeah, I like some of the ideas of bringing it into the, I remember last year I was picking Luke up at 9:30 from, boat making. The kids are busy.
They are.
Yeah. And that's been the feedback over the years, it's harder and harder to try to get, not because they don't want to, they're in a lot of stuff every day. And so, starting this Wednesday, the garages will be open, so that way whoever's providing the wagons, the kids can start working on here during their air.
Right.
And then we can all redecorate, all those things during that time.
Right.
Now, the pep rally will kick off at 1:10, because we're gonna be done by 2:00, so that way any of the high school students that we load on the buses to the stage to get to the area, they'll leave, and then the high school students will start to walk out. The same with elementary and middle. But elementary will fill this part closer to the school, takes them a little longer to get back.
What about painting the businesses in town? Will
They
that,
will be doing that this weekend,
oh,
was my understanding.
Fantastic. The GEDO, is that how we,
Yeah, it's a GED option,
okay,
so that's where the whole thing is. I just thought,
GEDO, okay. All right, well, keep talking about it.
So, we talked a little bit about it last month here at the meeting, and so just wanted to bring it back. To let you know, I talked about it with the curriculum committee meeting. And so really, it's a program that allows students who encounter hardship in their high school career, that does put them in a very credit efficient state. And so this allows them a pathway to earning their GED and thus their high school diploma. It's got a lot of rigor behind it. They got a prep, they got a test. There's other pieces that work, including service components and personal finance components with that. But it's really allowing students who, like I said, through no fault of their own, found themselves through personal hardship that put them into this credit decision place. We're talking for this year's treatment. If they didn't have this pathway, more than likely they wouldn't graduate, they drop out, and that also is reflected against us as a school district. We get dinged per se as a district on our state renewal. So that goes in that. And so, do I look to see that we're going to be needing this every year? No. But we want it to be available when we do have these.
It's very regimented. Students can't even start this until they're 17, so this isn't something a freshman can come in and say, oh, I'm doing this. And the discussion that we had at the curriculum committee, because there's a lot of question about, well, what about this and a student that does the 4 years? We will have it on their transcript of how the differences and how they got there, allowing the students to, as they go to an employer or college, tell their story on how they got there. So there is some differentiation in it, but still, it's letting us do everything possible to make sure some of these, some of the stories, and we shared a little bit earlier, just it's not these kiddos' fault where they're at, and we can. This is another tool in our toolbox to help a couple more kids, and that's what we're trying to get done to. So, anybody from the committee today want to add anything we missed that really kind of rang home for you guys?
I think they're testing out of the classes basically. So they're getting the content, they're able to work at their own pace and do the really important stuff. And the hard work.
I think it would help those students that, you know, just had a rough time, you know, and it gives them an option, and that's good. That's good to help those people. So, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
So is this something that would be, someone could use this year, or it would start next year?
They could use it this year.
Oh, okay. Okay. Great.
Your, GPR.
All right, great.
Who supervises that? Is
We
it,
have a teacher that's designated for that.
okay.
Part of his caseload is kind of working with those students and doing that, so, yeah.
Other district students already?
Yeah, my previous district, when I was a high school principal, we had this and it was our chance. I would say a majority of them do. I wouldn't know the percentage, but a majority have been doing this as a way to get through that group of students that, you know, find themselves at 17 and having no other option to really get to graduation.
I'm guessing we know, maybe you don't know off the top of your head, but the number of students in the state that use that.
I would say it's a few hundred. I mean, I'll go back to my own individual school. We usually had, you know, there we had graduating classes of 400. And I would say there was a percentage of our students, probably 10 or so a year, that would need something like this, 10 to 20. You know, it kind of depend on the year. I have a feeling you're gonna see more because, there's a lot of high schools because of COVID that kids didn't get the credits and things they needed, so, I think you're gonna see more of that from there. And again, used for the right purposes, good, but not a way to detour our rigor and, take the other advantages that we're offering.
Anyone else? Okay, informational item.
Okay, I have a lot on here, so sorry, but I'll get through this. So, just want to remind everybody, October 24th is our annual meeting. So, please put that on your calendar. So we will have our regular board meeting on the 17th. We will do an open house like we did again tonight, so it'll be a long day, and then the 24th will be our annual meeting. Second, we had a really great legislative update this morning, working with some of our, with our senator and representative. Really good discussion, really talking about, it's kind of a pivotal year. There's a lot of things going on. You can't watch the news or you can't watch TV without hearing something about what's going on with the election. So it was great connecting with them. I've actually been asked as part of the School Administrators Association to represent this area, to talk about some of the things happening on with the legislature, with politics. So about 4 times over the school year, I'll be going to we go to Stevens Point and talk about this and talk about all the things that could happen. You know, November is going to be very pivotal. If you haven't seen, public education is on the ballot one way or the other. So it'd be great to have a voice there. We should talk about a board retreat sometime. Usually we do it in November. You know, we're through September, so we don't have to set something now, but if we probably want to get through the annual meeting and those meetings there, but usually sometime in November, we look at doing a board retreat. Does the board have a suggestion when they'd like to go? Because that October and then November, that's, you know, 2 or 3 meetings, some Mondays in a row. Any thoughts on, as we look at vacations and stuff, maybe that second week of November, 3rd week of November, anything that you'd like to do it, maybe we go away from a Monday.
14th, let's go.
November 14th.
Item 14. 14, everyone? Okay. We'll look at doing. Yeah. Katie, you too?
Yep.
Okay. In the past, we've done like a 5:30?
Around 5.
Around 5?
Yeah, it's usually generated.
Okay. And I'll find, I may call, do you like the bog?
There's room, worked on that.
The room does work nice, and they treat us pretty well there, so I will see if that works. If that doesn't, I can maybe find it somewhere else.
Where's that road construction though? Is it already getting
Well,
the bond?
60, that's right.
Is that done yet? I don't think it's done.
It might be done by that. Someone said it was supposed to be done in October, but don't guarantee. But there's a roundabout. That's a good point.
I'll do some checking to see what I can do there, if we can get there
Can you
somewhere.
give us a special rate on golf if it's still open?
There you go. Do a 2 o'clock tee time, get 8, 9 holes in.
Some of us work, Chuck.
Yeah, I know.
Can't all be retired. Someone's got to carry that burden.
Can I call it work if I'm with Chuck? Yeah, there you go. There you go. Okay, one of the things, I just want an informational item, the staff handbook. Joe did a lot of really great things. One of the things he tried to, we found a way to increase our event pay. We haven't really increased that for years. I'm not even gonna speculate when the last time it was, but it's before I got here. So we did some things and we calculated it into hours to try to make it more clear to staff, and we found out very quickly they liked it the old way. Like if I do a football game, I get X. So it wasn't more than taking like, okay, instead of, the $15 an hour for 3 hours, we just changed it to $45. So it's a change in the handbook. It's a technicality. I just wanted to let you know we did that. And we're doing some updated handbooks with that. Big East game passes. Did everybody get a game pass? You get one for you and your spouse. So if you like one, we got them right here. Kim will be.
Do you have one? I do not have one.
So,
Well,
when we break up here, make sure you get them from there, and that they'll get you and your spouse or you and whoever you're with in any of the games, not just in Random Lake, but any Big East competition. So, yep. So, not playoffs. Yeah, playoffs are a special piece with that. So, and then the last piece, and thank you to Gary for this. We didn't have in here, but it's been, again, like I said, sometimes drinking from the fire hose this first month. I did want to announce Brandon Miller and Steve Wills splitting the job of athletics and activities director. We went to our staff at in-service. Joe left at a really inopportune time, but great I understand with his family, and we parted ways on really good terms. And Brandon and Steve came up and said, hey, I think we can divide and conquer this. And Joe did a great job of training everybody. So Brandon's in for a month, and all the kids are getting the games. Referees are where they're supposed to be. And Steve's getting ready for the first activity. So couldn't be happier that we found people willing to do it instead of, anointing somebody and them not liking it. So right now, so far so good.
Who's the second person?
Steve Wills,
Okay.
business head.
Okay. So that takes us to closed session. The board will go into closed session as permitted under Wisconsin State Statutes, Chapter 19, Section 1985, 1F. To discuss a student matter. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
So
That is Matt and Katie. This requires a roll call vote. Katie? Yes. Matt?
yes.
I vote yes. Amy?
Yes.
Great. Chuck?
Yes.